What's up, guys? So today I want to do a quick first impressions on some new Olights. First I have the Olight Warrior X, which is really interesing and cool, but I'm going to talk about the plans for this light in the end of the video. I want to focus first on this newer Valkyrie, okay, little weapons light. I was specifically interested in this light to replace the old Valkyrie that I had on my Glock 19. Alright, so I broke it down, this is the best way I could show you that the gun is clear. There's no ammunition anywhere in the area, no magazine or anything. So instead of doing a quick little check, I figured I would just break it down. What we like about Glocks so much is that they're so easy to take down, right? So now you know it is completely safe to handle. All right, no issues there. So there's the pistol, the old light, the new light. It sounded like I said Olight, right? The old light, the new light. A couple things. First off, size. Obviously, this one's big and chunky. All right, I'm going to show the comparison on how they carry on this particular gun. But also, this has a quick attachment point on the bottom. All right, so it's a magnetic USB cord that just literally snaps on there just with magnetism. Really easy to recharge this as opposed to the older one, which I have a CR123 in here. All right, so the top unscrews, and then we have our single CR123. All right, so that's how I charge this. I have to take the battery out, and then I use rechargeables. All right, so not a huge deal or anything, but definitely, you know, a plus with this one. Now, so far, just in having this for a couple hours and trying both and kind of comparing them back and forth to each other, this one obviously is awesome in a ton of ways. But first, let's talk about the old one. All right, so this old one, I have the Glock piece in here, which is going to fit, of course, on the rail here. So I just push up, and that snaps on. So it's securely in place. I only put about 50 rounds through this gun with this light on just to see that it would, you know, stay on there, that it was nice and firm. But I don't carry it like this at all, so I didn't see, you know, a huge need to put a bunch of rounds through it. What I did notice right away, you could see how much this is past the muzzle of the gun. So I did get a lot of black powder buildup and residue all in these fins on top, which is a huge pain in the butt to clean. Now, something I want to make clear is this is not my go-to option for home defense. All right, so that does play a huge role in what I decide to do with it. Having a light on this gun or having the option for a light is just a bonus, just for other, you know, type of scenarios. But, you know, if I had a home invasion or something, this is not the gun. I'm not using this particular firearm with this light or anything like that. But this would be a huge consideration for people who do. So how this one worked is there's a pressure pad on both sides, so it's ambidextrous for right or lefty shooters. All right, so when I wanted to turn the light on, I would just swing the finger down, do a soft push, all right, for constant on. You can turn it off, or you could do a long press for momentary on, so when you let go, the light would shut off. All right, and obviously it's accessible from both sides. What I did like about this light, however, is if you push both sides at the same time, you have a strobe function. I think the strobe function is very beneficial in a lot of different scenarios. So I really liked the light overall. What I absolutely hated was its size. I just can't stand the way it looks. I think it looks dumb to have this light sticking out. So just as simple as that. But everything else worked totally fine, carried perfectly on the gun, no issues, right? So the new one is a much smaller form factor. All right, you can see same piece on there. So it locks in with this, you know, rail system on the Glock. Okay, totally sturdy, not going anywhere at all. Very much low profile. It's not totally in line with the end of the barrel there, but it's very close, okay? In comparison, it looks a heck of a lot better, all right? Now, obviously, it would look really nice if it was way back here, all right? But it's just gonna depend on what model Glock you have, where this rail is in, you know, comparison to the end of the trigger guard, all right? But in this particular case, this is a Gen 3 Glock 19. That's where it carries, and I'm totally fine with that. Now, this is a lot different in that instead of pushing in on a rubberized, you know, pad, this has these little arms that you push downward on it, okay? So turn the light on, you just, you know, tap that down. Now, in its position with my hands and everything, it's totally fine. You can see my finger comes down. It's very natural. It's right there, all right? The first thing I did was I handed this to my wife because she has a lot smaller hands, and her finger landed like right here. She could not touch it, okay, without changing her grip on her, you know, right hand, or she would come in and use her left hand to touch it, all right, to turn it on. So, because again, this is also ambidextrous, so it's on both sides. Now, this is the same in that a long hold will be momentary on, just let go when you want to shut off, or a quick tap will keep it on constant. But something definitely worth considering, obviously, is the size of your hands. If you do have shorter fingers or something, it might be harder to reach one-handed. You don't want to have to worry about using, you know, an offhand or something, or especially changing your grip to be able to reach that. So it could be a negative for some people. Just something definitely worth considering. All right, you can see again on a Glock 19 about how far that is away from the trigger guard. So at home, if you happen to have the same gun, you can kind of put your hand on it, get a natural grip, and see if you're going to be able to touch that. For me, it's no problem. Overall, I really do like this light initially. The one thing I don't like about this light is it does not have that same strobe mode that this had. I do value the strobe mode for my particular situation because I'm not using this for self-defense in my home or anything like that. It's not a big deal, but it is a big consideration for you guys that might be considering it for your home defense option. All right, so no strobe. It might be a deal breaker for some people, but for me, I really like the fact that it's such a low profile light in comparison. All right, so this is how the old one would carry, right about there. I mean, you can see the difference there. So when I have time, I'll get out and I'll do some shooting with this. I don't foresee any problems with it all, but it's locked on, very solid. There's no wiggle or anything. This is straight out of the box. The difference between these two is this one has kind of a rubberized coating on the handle. It's a little more comfortable to kind of snap down, but it's not something you're taking on and off all the time. All right, the paddles are actually pretty much the same. All right, and it does come with the spare piece to swap this out for a Picatinny rail. So if you're not planning on putting this on a Glock or something, you wanted to specifically use this on a Picatinny rail, that does come with the little, you know, key to do that, the Allen key, as well as the separate pieces in there. But the fact that it's just rechargeable is really nice too. You know, if you do lots of drills, obviously, you know, practicing with your firearm, dry firing, drawing, maybe go, you know, to get your firearm to pretend there's some kind of situation going on, you're gonna use up the battery in your light. Most people probably don't use their lights at all. It's just there for when you need it. But as far as the charging, you know, being that little magnetic connector, it's really nice in comparison to having to swap out the batteries. Anyway, just a quick glance at this, just kind of playing around with it since it's new, and comparing it to the old one to kind of see the pros and cons. I do love everything about it. The only con, obviously, is not having the strobe mode. That is something that I personally put value on. So going back to the Warrior X, what I'm initially going to be doing is testing this out just as a regular flashlight, but eventually I like to maybe try this out on a rifle. Now, clearly you guys know that I picked up an AR, and I know I said I was going to keep it stock, which I'm mostly planning on doing. I know people are probably laughing at me because I'm already considering doing different things like trying out a weapon light system on it. But I have no plans on like doing a whole new rail or anything like that. If I were to ever do anything with the AR, it would be buying another upper. So I can do a completely different setup and use the same lower for it. That makes the most sense financially to me, but I don't have initial plans on doing that. If I want to try this flashlight as a weapons light on that particular gun, I'll probably end up getting a little rail piece, you know, that fits on the bayonet lug. I think that seems like the most, you know, logical and most affordable option. But what's really cool about the Warrior X is a lot of people are using it with their mount system, which has a rifle mount, okay, or a rail mount, as well as what's pretty interesting is a magnetic pressure switch, which I've never seen before. All right, so you can mount this anywhere on your rail as well, and it just has a magnetic fitting that goes on the back of this light. So yeah, initially going to just use it as a light for people who might be interested in that, but maybe down the road, I'll actually use it on the rifle if I do get the proper setup for that. But pretty interesting. I mean, my initial impressions on this are good as well. There's pros and cons to everything. So stay tuned for that. I will eventually do a review on this flashlight as it is, just as a pocket light or an EDC style light. Anyway, just a heads up, we'll be doing a video on this eventually, as well as a first impressions on this particular light. I like everything about it. Like I said, because it's not my, you know, self-defense go-to option for the home, I don't care that it's lacking that strobe mode. If I were to have a flashlight on my home pistol, I would definitely want that as an option, but I, you know, choose to have a separate dedicated flashlight for that purpose. So not a huge deal. This one's totally fine. This is a great example of function over form. I think it is absolutely horrifically ugly sticking out that far, you know, past the muzzle of the gun. But that's just me, personal preference. Obviously, function is more important than form. But at the end of the day, you know, we all like things that look nice, right? So I just like that this is much more compact. Obviously, it's newer technology, so it's a lot smaller. And of course, the magnetic charging is just a nice bonus. So that's all, just a quick heads up. Of course, if you guys get these flashlights in the future, come back to the video. Feel free to post down in the comment section what you think of yours and your experience with and everything. But for me, I just like the option of having a flashlight for my Glock 19. This is my carry pistol. It's what I carry the most, but I do not carry it with a flashlight. And when I get home, I have other firearms that I prefer to have for self-defense. So that's it for now. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Take care.